I never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but here I am. I, 28F, have been married to my husband Tony, 31M, for 3 years now. We have what you'd call a love marriage. We met by chance and fell head over heels for each other. It all started 5 years ago when I was shopping at a local department store. I was trying to reach a box of cereal on a high shelf, and this tall, handsome guy offered to help. That was Tony. He reached up effortlessly and handed me the box, flashing a smile that made my heart skip a beat. We got to talking, and he asked if I wanted to grab a coffee. I said yes, and that's how our story began. We dated for about 2 years before Tony proposed. During those 2 years, we went on countless adventures together. We explored hidden cafes in the city, went on weekend road trips, and even tried salsa dancing, which was a disaster, but we laughed through it all. Tony was everything I'd ever wanted in a partner. Kind, funny, and always there for me. The proposal was magical. He took me back to that same store and got down on one knee right in the aisle where we first met. He had even arranged for the same cereal box to be there. I was so surprised and overjoyed that I knocked over a display in my rush to say yes. The store staff were very understanding, thankfully. But not everyone was as excited about our engagement. Tony's family, especially his sister Nellie, 29F, seemed hesitant. They thought we were rushing into things and that we hadn't known each other long enough. I remember the first time I met them after we announced our engagement. Nellie barely looked at me, and Tony's parents kept asking questions about my background and career plans. It felt more like an interrogation than a celebration. Tony's parents eventually came around. They saw how happy Tony was with me and started to warm up to the idea. But Nellie remained cold and distant. Every family gathering was awkward, with Nellie making snide comments or just ignoring me completely. Despite the lack of enthusiasm from some family members, we went ahead with our wedding plans. We had a beautiful ceremony in a local park with fairy lights strung up in the trees and flowers everywhere. It was like a dream come true for me. Even if Nellie looked like she'd rather be anywhere else, I tried not to let it bother me. It was our special day after all. Fast forward to now. Nellie is married to a guy named Miles, 30M, and is expecting her first child. I was genuinely happy for them when I heard the news. Nellie had met Miles at her workplace about a year after our wedding, and they had a whirlwind romance. They got married just 6 months after meeting, which I found ironic, given how she had criticized Tony and me for moving too fast. When I heard about Nellie's pregnancy, I thought maybe this would be a chance for us to bond, to finally become real sisters. I even started planning what I could do to help. Maybe offer to cook some meals for them after the baby was born, or help with setting up the nursery. But then I found out about the baby shower. Tony mentioned it casually one evening, asking what we should get as a gift. I was confused. I hadn't received an invitation. When I told Tony this, he looked uncomfortable and said he'd check with Nellie. It turns out, Nellie had invited everyone in the family except me. Tony's parents, his cousins, even some of Nellie's friends I'd met once or twice. They were all going, but not me. I was hurt and angry. After 3 years of marriage, I thought I was part of this family. Clearly, Nellie didn't see it that way. I tried to brush it off at first. Maybe it was an oversight, I told myself. But as the day of the shower got closer and I still hadn't received an invitation, I knew it was intentional. Nellie was deliberately excluding me. I finally broke down and talked to Tony about it. We were sitting on our couch after dinner, and I just couldn't hold it in anymore. I told him how hurt I was, how I felt like an outsider in my own family. I explained that I had been trying so hard to be accepted, to be a good sister-in-law, but nothing seemed to work. Tony was sympathetic. He held me as I cried and said he'd talk to Nellie, try to find out why she'd left me out. But you know what? I'm tired of always being the bigger person. I'm tired of trying to win Nellie's approval when she clearly has no interest in accepting me as family. So I told Tony that if I wasn't invited, he shouldn't go either. Why should he celebrate with someone who can't even show basic courtesy to his wife? I know it's a big ask, but I feel like if we don't take a stand now, this treatment will continue forever. Tony looked torn. I could see the conflict in his eyes. He loves his sister, but I'm his wife. Shouldn't I come first? He didn't give me an answer right away, saying he needed time to think about it. Now, I'm left wondering if I've gone too far. I feel like I'm at my wit's end with Nellie in this whole situation. I don't want to drive a wedge between Tony and his family, but I also don't want to be treated like a second-class citizen in my own family. I've tried so hard to make things work with Nellie. I've been nothing but kind and supportive, even when she's been cold or rude. I've bought her thoughtful gifts for holidays and her birthday. I've offered to help with various things, from planning family events to giving her rides when her car was in the shop. But nothing seems to make a difference. I'm starting to wonder if there's something else going on here. Is there a reason Nellie dislikes me so much? Did I do something to offend her that I'm not aware of? Or is she just one of those people who can never accept an outsider into the family? Whatever the reason, I'm at a loss for what to do next. If I back down now, I feel like I'm saying it's okay for Nellie to treat me this way. But if I stand my ground, I might be causing irreparable damage to Tony's relationship with his sister. I love Tony more than anything, and I want to have a good relationship with his family. But at what point do I need to prioritize my own feelings and self-respect? I never wanted to be the cause of family drama, but here I am, smack in the middle of it. So, Reddit, what do you think? Am I justified for asking Tony not to go to the baby shower? Or am I justified in taking a stand against this ongoing mistreatment? I could really use some outside perspective on this whole mess. Update 1. It's been a week since my last post, and things have only gotten more complicated. Nellie's baby shower is in 2 days, and I'm still not invited. But there's more to this story than I initially shared, and I think it's time to lay it all out. Nellie and I have never had a good relationship, and there's a reason for that. We actually went to the same college, though we were in different years. I was a freshman when she was a junior. I knew Nellie back then, and let's just say she wasn't the sweet, innocent girl she pretends to be now. In college, Nellie had quite a reputation. She was known for being bratty and entitled, always causing drama. She went through boyfriends like tissues, and there were always rumors about her affairs. I remember seeing her at parties, always hanging off the arm of a different guy each time. But the worst part? She had an affair with a middle-aged professor named Robert, 39. It was an open secret on campus. Everyone knew about it, but no one said anything officially. I saw them together multiple times, sneaking into his office after hours or meeting at off-campus cafes. I never told Tony about this. When I met him and realized he was Nellie's brother, I decided to keep quiet about what I knew. I didn't want to cause problems in his family, and I hoped that Nellie had changed. But now I'm starting to think she hasn't changed at all. She's just gotten better at hiding who she really is. I think the real reason Nellie hates me is that she knows I know her secrets. She's afraid I'll spill the beans about her past, and that's why she's never accepted me as Tony's wife. She's been cold and distant since the day we got engaged, and now she's gone as far as to exclude me from her baby shower. After thinking about it for days, I decided to do some digging. I called Miles, Nellie's husband, under the pretense of asking about a gift for the baby. During our conversation, I casually asked if Robert, the professor Nellie had an affair with, was coming to the shower. To my shock, Miles said yes. Apparently, Robert was one of the first people Nellie invited. He said Robert and Nellie had stayed in touch after college and that Robert had been a great mentor to Nellie in her career. This set off alarm bells in my head. Why would Nellie invite her former affair partner to her baby shower? I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I remembered all the times I'd seen Nellie and Robert together in college. The secretive glances, the way they'd jump apart if someone walked by. It made me wonder if their relationship had really ended when Nellie graduated. I told Miles that I needed to talk to him about something important regarding Robert and Nellie. I suggested we meet alone, outside of the house. Miles sounded confused, but agreed. We've set up a meeting for tomorrow evening at a local cafe. Now, I'm torn. I know what Nellie did in college was years ago, but inviting Robert to the baby shower seems suspicious. And the way she's been treating me, I can't help but wonder if there's more going on here. I haven't told Tony about any of this yet. I'm afraid of how he'll react. Will he believe me? Or will he think I'm just trying to cause trouble because I'm upset about the baby shower? Part of me feels like I should just let it go. Maybe Nellie has changed. Maybe Robert really is just a mentor now. But another part of me feels like Miles deserves to know the truth about his wife's past. I keep thinking about how I would feel if I were in Miles' position. If Tony had a history like that, wouldn't I want to know? Especially if there was a chance it wasn't just history? But then I think about the fallout. If I tell Miles, and it turns out I'm wrong about Nellie still being involved with Robert, I could destroy my relationship with Tony's family forever. Not to mention potentially ruining Nellie's marriage and causing stress for her during her pregnancy. Should I tell Miles about Nellie's past? Should I share my suspicions? I feel like I'm caught between doing what's right and keeping the peace in the family. But at this point, I'm not sure there's any peace left to keep. I'm meeting Miles tomorrow, and I still don't know what I'm going to say. Should I tell him everything? Should I just hint at it and let him do his own investigating? Or should I make up some excuse and not say anything at all? I never wanted to be in this position. I never wanted to be the one holding this kind of information. But now that I am, I feel like I have a responsibility to do something with it. Whatever I decide, I know it's going to change everything. There's no going back from this. I just hope I can live with whatever choice I make. Update 2, I met with Miles at the cafe as planned. My heart was racing as I sat down across from him. I knew what I was about to say could change everything, but I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I started by telling Miles about Nellie's past in college. I explained how she had multiple affairs, including one with Robert, the professor who was invited to the baby shower. Miles listened silently, his face growing more and more pale as I continued. Then I dropped the bomb. I told Miles that I suspected Nellie's affair with Robert might still be ongoing. I explained how I'd seen them together multiple times over the years, always in situations that seemed too intimate for a student and former professor. I told him about the time I saw them coming out of a movie theater together, looking cozy and holding hands. This was just a few months after Nellie and Miles got married. I had brushed it off at the time, not wanting to cause trouble, but now I couldn't ignore it. Miles was devastated. He asked me why I hadn't said anything before, and I explained that I had hoped Nellie had changed. I told him I was only speaking up now because I was worried about him and the baby. After our meeting, Miles went home. I didn't hear anything for a day, and then suddenly the news broke. The baby shower was canceled. Apparently, Miles had found proof of Nellie's cheating on her phone. Tony was furious with me. He came home that night, his face red with anger. He accused me of meddling and ruining his sister's life. We had a huge argument, with Tony yelling that I had no right to interfere in Nellie's marriage. I tried to explain my reasons, but he wouldn't listen. His parents were even worse. They called me all sorts of names and said I had no right to interfere in Nellie's marriage. They accused me of being jealous of Nellie and trying to ruin her happiness. It was like all the progress I'd made with them over the years had been erased in an instant. But things were far from over. A few days later, I heard that Miles was questioning the paternity of the baby. He wanted a DNA test, suspecting that the child might be Robert's. This news sent shockwaves through the family. Tony's parents were in denial, insisting that Nellie would never do such a thing. When confronted with this, Nellie apparently broke down. She confessed that yes, the baby was Robert's. She had been continuing her affair with him all this time, right under everyone's noses. She admitted that it had never really ended after college. They had just gotten better at hiding it. The fallout was massive. Tony's parents completely stopped talking to me. They blamed me for exposing Nellie's secret and breaking up her marriage. They said I should have minded my own business and left well enough alone. Tony was torn. He was angry at Nellie for her betrayal, but he was also upset with me for getting involved. For a while, Tony stopped talking to me too. He moved into the spare room, and we barely exchanged more than a few words each day. It was the hardest few weeks of my life. I felt like I had lost everything. My husband, my in-laws. I started to doubt myself. Had I done the right thing? Should I have kept quiet and let Nellie's lies continue? The weight of my decision was crushing me. But slowly, things started to change. Tony began to realize that what I did, while perhaps not the best way to handle things, came from a place of honesty. He understood that I couldn't stand by and watch Miles be deceived. One night, about a month after everything had blown up, Tony came to me. He apologized for his reaction and said he'd been doing a lot of thinking. He told me that while he wished I had come to him first, he understood why I did what I did. Tony and I started talking again. We had long, difficult conversations about trust, family, and loyalty. It wasn't easy, but we're working through it. We're even considering couples therapy to help us navigate this new chapter in our relationship. As for Nellie, last I heard, Miles had filed for divorce. The baby was born, and Miles is not listed as the father on the birth certificate. Robert has apparently left his wife and is now with Nellie, though I don't know the details. I feel terrible for Miles and for Robert's wife. They're the innocent victims in all of this. Tony's parents are still not speaking to me, and I doubt they ever will. But Tony has stood by me. He told them that while he doesn't agree with how I handled things, he understands why I did what I did. He's told them that I'm his wife, and they need to respect that. Looking back, I wonder if I could have handled things differently. Maybe I should have talked to Tony first, or confronted Nellie directly. But in the moment, all I could think about was the pain and betrayal Miles would feel if he found out later. I know I've caused a lot of upheaval in the family. The comfortable lies that everyone was living with have been shattered, and it's going to take a long time for things to settle into a new normal. But I also believe that the truth would have come out eventually, and the longer it was hidden, the more damage it would have done. Tony and I are taking things day by day. We're rebuilding our trust and our relationship. It's not easy, but I believe we'll come out stronger for it. As for the rest of the family, only time will tell. I hope that one day they'll understand why I did what I did. I did what I thought was right, but at what cost? I guess only time will tell if I made the right choice. For now, I'm focusing on healing my relationship with Tony and finding a way to move forward. It's been a difficult journey, but I believe we're on the right path. I've learned a lot from this experience. I've learned the importance of communication, especially with my partner. I've learned that sometimes doing the right thing comes at a great personal cost. And I've learned that family dynamics are incredibly complex and fragile. As for Nellie, I hope she finds happiness and peace. Despite everything, I don't wish her ill. I hope she can learn from this experience and grow as a person. And I hope that one day, her child will have a stable and loving family environment. Miles has reached out to thank me for telling him the truth. He said that while it was painful, he's grateful to know the reality of his situation. He's focusing on healing and moving forward with his life. Tony and I are taking things one day at a time. We're working on rebuilding our trust and strengthening our communication. We've made a pact to always be honest with each other, no matter how difficult the truth might be. I don't know what the future holds for us or for our relationship with Tony's family, but I do know that I'll continue to stand up for what I believe is right, even when it's hard. And I'll always strive to be the best partner, friend, and person I can be. So, Reddit, that's my story. It's been a wild ride, and I'm sure it's not over yet, but I'm hopeful for the future. Thank you for listening and for all your support along the way. It's meant more to me than you could ever know.